Your child's symptoms are not random. Your symptoms are not random, and they're not just behavior. There's often a neurological component that deserves attention, and you do not have to figure it out alone. Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive.
If you have taken your child to what you feel like is every specialist possible, you feel like you've exhausted your options, tried the diets, the supplements, the therapies, the testing, and you're still wondering, why does it still feel like something is being missed? Something's missing. Today's episode is for you. And I'm also tired of seeing this. I'm on a little hill right now about it. Because there's a word that nobody's talking about. And that's okay, because we have to teach them, right? We have to get this education out here. I was just talking to my CAs about this, about how, worked up I am that we're doing all these other things first before setting the foundation. And she's like, but you have to tell them. Nobody knows about this. It's like, okay, fine. That's what we're here to do.
Here we are.
Because once you understand it, everything we said, subluxation. Subluxation, which is a chiropractor's word meaning, what I say is not just picture, it's not saying displaced bone. If it's not bone out of place, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about goes so much deeper than that. And it's much deeper than posture or back pain. We're talking about the nervous system and the brain, stress, physiology, development, regulation. And once parents understand this deeper meaning, there's usually a light bulb moment.
I kind of have a story that goes alongside with this.
Let's do it.
Because I have a family, so, we honor different journeys. And so we actually had a family who brought in their little boy. He went through a full care plan, but brother never did. They just wanted to kind of get him in on regular weekly care. They kind of wanted to skip the care plan. And so, but brother has been having issues with really, really big meltdowns. We started a care plan for him because he started having stutters, and then he got better, and they were like, I actually think we want to go down to just once a week. So I was like, okay. Brother went through a whole care plan though. He was our miracle story of he was having the blood sugar spikes. They thought maybe he had diabetes. I've talked to him about him in a couple other episodes. Well, brother's turn. He's been having meltdowns so big, mom was starting to worry. He stopped sleeping. He stopped pooping. Kind of started having these tension tantrums where we were kind of thinking that we would have to start watching out for seizures. Just full body tension. Felt like he couldn't control himself. She was getting, we were all kind of getting a little worried. That's the direction we were headed. She wasn't sure she wanted to start with chiropractic care first. So she went and got a referral from her pediatrician for OT. And PT, I think. Before they started working on that, though, I said, just give me 3 weeks. 3 times a week. Let's see what happens. He just started OT today, and they celebrated today because we have little toys that you get to take home, and sometimes we have meltdowns when we can't take more than one toy. We have to take one per adjustment. And his mom saw him pick 3 toys. She said, we do this every week. You can only take one. And so he literally out loud said, well, I already have this one. And I don't really like this one. But this one, the last time I got this one, it broke. So I'm going to take this one. And she literally was she's like, I had to come back into the adjustment room and tell you. Because I've never seen him in his entire life, problem solve. For the first, and he's 3. So for the first time in his entire life, he's able to problem solve. And he literally started coming 3 times a week, 3 weeks ago. And so she's like, I can definitely tell. And he hadn't started yet. It's always hard when they start something at the same time. And they're like, it could have been this too. And it's but he hadn't started it yet. And so it's she's seeing how powerful. I'm really glad that we did it before it started. Because she totally would have been well, this plus OT, right? And that's not a bad thing. But the problem is, if we start to have an accumulation of stress, or if she goes down in her care plan too soon, she's going to see that that's really the problem, right? Is when parents are when we start 2 things at the same time and they think it's both, actually, you're probably going to see some regression at some point, and then you're going to question what is the actual thing that's working. And it's we want you to see that nervous system regulation comes first, and then getting rid of subluxation as much as possible. And then after that, you can do whatever you want after that.
Because every single day we see in our practices kids struggling with sensory challenges, ADHD, autism, sleep issues, gut problems, emotional dysregulation, chronic illness, developmental delays. And parents are exhausted in trying to connect the dots. Because that's a lot of things you could be doing OT and PT and supplementation for, right? Those are all perceivably different symptoms that could be treated with a bunch of different modalities. But so often, the root issue is hidden in the nervous system itself. It's almost become normal that kids like, oh yeah, my kid is a picky eater. My kid is constipated once they started solids. My kid doesn't sleep well. And like that's become the norm for so many parents that it's like we're either not seeking help for it, or it's like it's so normal. It's like, oh, this is the supplement I use for my kid. Give it a shot.
Well, that's what I was even thinking. Like in the moms group, it's like new moms, and we're kind of gonna go into this, but they know like this shouldn't be happening, and they come into these moms groups, and it's like, well, my kid never slept. My kid never ate. It's like, oh, okay, then it must be normal.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a lot of kids. They'll grow out of it. It's probably genetic. The genetics one. Let's wait and see. Right. And meanwhile, you're right. Like mom's intuition is like, there's more going on. Like, and I was back to like, is this what we were designed to live like? We were designed to live like to come out not sleeping and pooping. Right. No, we weren't. Like the emotional regulation is something that's developed, right? That's a tricky one to figure out. But yeah, and like I said, these are all being treated like separate problems, but let's look a little deeper.
So we're going to go ahead and break down what this big word is, because this term can sound crazy. But it actually also is kind of used differently in the medical world. So when most people think about subluxation, they think of bone out of place. And honestly, that's just a tiny, just like one component of it. So subluxation is really a neurological stress pattern within the neurospinal system. It involves three big things happening together. So we have a misalignment, things aren't moving together anymore. And then we have restricted movement, things aren't moving at all. And then we have neurological interference. And I would actually probably say that happens in reverse, right? So first we have the neurological interference. Things stop, the brain stops communicating to a certain segment of the neurospinal system, creating this misalignment, and then the misalignment stays long enough to then create restricted movement. And so that means that restricted movement means that the brain and the body have stopped communicating clearly to that region. The problem with that is that region is likely, definitely, attached to several other pathways and processes. I mean, we literally have what we call this like neurofuse box in our office that we use all of the time, because if someone is feeling, I'm like, as of right now, the pain that I'm feeling in my shoulders is no longer the pain I'm feeling in my shoulders. I can tell like, oh, my anxiety was probably a little bit higher this week. I must be feeling a little bit more stress and tension, because truly when we have that lack of movement, even that discomfort happening, it's because the brain has stopped communicating to that whole entire structure of things that area is also communicating to. So one of the best ways to explain this is through this like sensory input kind of concept. So your brain relies on constant information coming from the body to know, am I safe? How should I be responding to this? How should I move to this? And what needs attention, either externally or internally, right? What needs attention around me and what needs attention inside of me? And so when we restore the movement and communication to that area, we then get to restore how that area perceives everything. Well, when, like, let's say shoulders, right? They're connected to your sympathetic plexus. What word am I looking for? Yeah, good. Sympathetic plexus. So that the shoulders, I'm like trying to think of a better word than sympathetic. Their shoulders are connected to essentially your stress zone, is what I call it.
Gas pedal?
Yeah, true. Gas pedal. And so if that is not being communicated to you, your brain's not going to go like, well, I don't really see what's going on here, so let's just assume everything's fine. No, it's going to go for the danger zone first, because that's how we survive, right? So it's like, I don't really understand what's going here. I'm just going to assume the whole world is ending, because that is the best way for me to stay safe. Is that the best choice to make in that action? Maybe not. But it is going to keep you alive, likely longer, for a longer period of time. And so that is why our bodies are designed that way. But we don't obviously want to keep that miscommunication happening, because that's when problems start to build.
Yeah, so then we were just talking about bandwidth, right? It's all of that noise, all of that stickiness or stuck movement then acts as more noise that's threatening to the brain. Mm-hmm. And that threatening noise is taking up bandwidth and pulling you into the survival mode, so you can't access these processing centers of your brain for that emotional regulation and executive function, all those things. And also then you can't access your brake pedal with this rest and digest functions. Right? So your child was designed to function with this high-speed internet. And now they're functioning like dial up. Right? Like that brain-body communication is slower and stickier. That's subluxation.
And so that's what we mean by like it affects your sleep, your digestion, your immune function, emotional regulation. It's because the communication to that area, whether it's your sympathetic nucleus, plexus, whatever you want to call it, it can happen at any point in time of the neurospinal system. The closer up you are to the brain, the more processes that are happening to it, right? And every time one system has a lack of communication to it, it means another system either needs to work harder or starts underworking. And now we start to have more things involved. And so what seems like multiple different symptoms is actually a result of the miscommunication in the brainstem that has caused a miscommunication in the shoulders, that it's caused a miscommunication in the mid-back, which causes, it kind of goes all the way down the spine. And you can see how we can have multiple symptoms stemming from one primary subluxation that's buried underneath all of these other miscommunications throughout the body.
Dr. Veronica is suggesting a pattern that we see often in our practice with, I'll just throw it in now, like how do we know where this is, right? I just had a patient this morning. She's like, you can feel subluxation? Yes. It's a little obnoxious, nubby guy. How do you describe what you feel?
It depends.
Yeah. Or like stickiness or bogginess.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So we can feel subluxation in your body, but we also have insight scans that tell us the tone and the tension through each segment of your spine, how exhausted or sleepy or angry it is with temperature, and how you're adapting to stress with heart rate variability. So we can feel it, and we can also see it on our scans, and we can take all that information and decide what's the most important. And usually, with these kiddos struggling with all of the things that Dr. Veronica just listed, so often with kids, because they don't have a bunch of physical stress that's built up throughout their lower body yet, because they're not like playing football and gymnastics yet, or sitting all the time usually. The stress is probably from birth and just having a giant head in general, like walking around. The amount of times Duke has fallen, like whiplash and stuff, I'm like, oh. That's all I've got there. But stress in the upper neck. And this is one of the biggest areas we focus on neurologically because it's also where your brainstem is housed. And the brainstem is the control center of your body. And it does so much automatic behind the scenes work. And it also has some of the highest amounts of proprioceptive input to the body. So that's like what your body is telling your brain. That's proprioception. Like the information coming from your body. And the brain relies heavily on the information from this area to understand what's happening internally. So when there's stress and tension there, the nervous system can shift into this protective mode really quick. And then that's why kids present with such different symptoms, like this wide array of symptoms, even though the root issue is similar, it's stress near their brainstem. So one child can become sensory seeking. One child can become anxious, constipation, struggle emotionally. The expression of stress looks different. I feel like everyone has their tendency of how their body is going to express stress, right? That's where maybe the genetics can come in of what's your tendency, like what red flag are you going to wave, but you don't have to wave that flag.
Makeup.
Anyway, schedule your insight scans. We'll see you next week.
No, but for real. So basically, we have just described the perfect storm, right? The stress and tension in the neck. If we want to just condense, you can go back and watch Perfect Storm. But essentially, it typically happens at birth, like Dr. Serena says. You carry it for sometimes the rest of your life, unless you come and see us. But then you also have, we're basically describing the physical stressors that we come across. And maybe if we were just coming across that, our bodies could intuitively, do something about it. But because that's not the only thing that we're experiencing, we're also experiencing the other two T's. So we explained the like traumatic physical trauma that we go through as humans, but there's also the chemical stressors, right? The toxins that we experience every single day, especially now, growing more every day. I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you know all about it. It's why you probably started in the gut. Hopefully not if you were catching it before that. But gut health is super important, and we know that, and the toxins that build up. But I was just telling a family, it's like, it does not matter what you put in the gut if the gut isn't moving, if the gut isn't extracting the other things that you don't want into it. And then you also have your emotional toxins, your thought toxins, which is just the lovely amount of mental health that we get to navigate as adults as well. I always like to say, you know, physical trauma and chemical trauma usually has a start and stop to it. Your emotional trauma typically doesn't. Your brain never shuts off and never stops. And we just talked about a brain that is stuck in the survival mode is going to go straight into protection, which means it's going to push more of those like, are we okay? Are we safe? Why we're feeling danger? And the brain just never shuts off. It's why we stop sleeping. It's why we stop eliminating. It's why we stop really thriving, because those three, the combination of the three stressors, the trauma, physical trauma, the chemical trauma, and the thought trauma come together to essentially shut the communication to the brain down, because the brain's like, I don't know what to do with this. So we can't spend all of our time. I always get this question outside of the office, but like as a chiropractor, like if our bodies are designed so well, why does that happen? Why does the brain stop communicating to it? Well, if it spent all of its time and energy trying to turn this back on when it doesn't know how, it's going to have to use that energy, right? It's going to have to come from somewhere. And it would much rather say, you know what, I don't know what's going on here, so I'm just going to move on and help all the other processes functioning before it sends all of its energy to that one area, because that just wouldn't be sustainable as humans, right? So that's where we get to come in and help out. But before we get there, we can kind of talk about why no one's really talking about this, if you want. In terms
I don't know why no one's talking about it, Brian. I don't know.
Other providers and stuff.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's like this is such an, it's almost too simple. Like, you know, and it's like,
it's
look,
true.
guys.
I have nothing to say that.
That is noisy. I got to get rid of it so your brain feels safe and so that your nervous system can be adaptable and flexible. Like, no, like, shouldn't this cost a lot of money? Shouldn't I have to, like, wait 3 weeks for my supplements and blood work to come in and, like, to have this terrible detox? Like, I don't know. Like, gut health is just such a hot topic right now that I think we're just on this gut health kick.
And I get it, because it's like you're so close. you're so close.
And also, it's chiropractic's fault, in a sense. Like, we went and, like, unbranded nervous system care and rebranded to low back pain and whiplash in the 80s, right? It's like, and so when people say adjust babies, they're like, why are you adjusting babies?
Right.
Like, do they get whiplash? Do they have headaches? What is going on? Like, no.
I sometimes forget there's like a whole world of people who think that.
No, I've had a couple patients who are like double take. They're like, why are you adjusting that baby? What happened? It's like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same reason you're in here, but just exactly. Like aren't quite there yet. But I think we just had, like, people just don't know yet. And it's almost too simple. And we have to rebrand ourselves into this vitalistic nervous system foundation. And the rest of us, chiropractors, have to believe it and buy into it too. Right? Like, the potential for our profession is insane. If every chiropractor in the Treasure Valley became a PX doc, hallelujah. Right?
Because they're already doing half the work. I mean, you have the degree.
They already have the full potential. Right? And it just makes me so sad that they're stopping their potential at when the pain's gone. Right. Anyways.
There's so much more to it.
So I don't know if there's a better answer for that. But we've also been trained for these quick fixes. Like, I have a symptom, there's a medication to take for that. I have a symptom, there's a supplement to slap onto that. Right? And then we're expecting quick changes. Or, like, I have this pain, there's a 6-week PT protocol to help me release that compensation. But what's happening is, like, oh, I've been exposed to these toxins, I must need a detox protocol. I was like, well, no. It's like your body was designed to adapt to that. You were designed to adapt to that, and you're designed to adapt to, like, that physical, that chemical, and that emotional stressor. And you have so much noise in your system that you've lost your adaptability. Right, so that's just like there's like a whole, this is whole the podcast of why. But I'm like, do we talk about Rockefeller? No, probably not.
She's like, do we really want to go there?
I don't think we have time. But it's like we're here putting in the work of what I see over and over again is, and what so many other pediatric nervous system focused chiropractors are seeing over and over again, is when you start with the gut and when you start with PT and OT, those are great things, but so many times they mask and drive these subluxations deeper and hide them more because they're just band-aids and compensations until you remove that initial stress off the nervous system. So there's a full brain, body, brain connection, and you have balance and ease in your system so that these other therapies can really do their work, right? Like your body was designed to adapt and heal. God designed you to be able to do that. We ask, why isn't that happening? What's in the way? Mm-hmm. We don't ask, what can we add? Right? I don't want you to have to add things until we've done a lot of refining. And then there's a point where we understand that, like, we do live in a fallen world where there is going to be more stress and burdens than we were meant to necessarily carry. And we can use some supplemental nutrition, and we can use some, like, were you designed to play football and be perfectly fine? I don't know. I don't know if you were designed to get pounded.
Just pummeled.
Yeah, right? So maybe you weren't designed to completely undo those things yourself. Anyways, that was a long-winded way of saying.
So, if there's anything, I know we're on the rampage, but if you leave today's episode with anything, let it be this. Your child's symptoms are not random. Your symptoms are not random, and they're not just behavior. And you're not crazy for feeling like there's something more going on underneath of the surface, even though everyone else is telling you it's normal. Yeah. There's often a neurological component that deserves attention, and you do not have to figure it out alone. That's where we come in. So if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you would share it with another parent who's searching for answers, maybe like you are. I don't know if you're watching this at like 1 or 2 in the morning, while you're like doing a nighttime nurse, or just like because your kid won't sleep. We would love to see you in our office. Dr. Serena is located in Boise, Idaho. I am located in Ankeny, Iowa. And if you aren't in any of those locations, don't worry, we got you. Go ahead and go to the show notes to find the PX Docs directory, and you can find the PX Docs near you.
I'll pray us out. Dear Lord, thank you for creating us with this massive ability to adapt and heal so that we can function at the full potential that you designed us to function at. Lord, please bring families to PX Docs. Bring them to Dr. Veronica and me so that we can be your hands, your healing hands down here on earth, and allow your creation and your love to fully express themselves. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz
and Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.